Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing something super interesting. We are unpacking the mechanics behind a highly viral, deeply emotional piece of spiritual media. How exactly do these messages work? What makes them so captivating and comforting to literally millions of people? Well, we're going to look closely at the text of one of these viral messages to deconstruct its narrative structure step by step. Get ready, because the way this message is crafted to disarm and comfort the viewer is absolutely fascinating. Okay, let's just dive right in. The source text hooks you immediately, right from the very first sentence. It says, "I need you to stop for a moment right here, right now." Notice how it doesn't ask for your attention, it commands it. It brings this extreme sense of urgency. In a world where we are just endlessly scrolling, the text instantly frames this exact second as a sacred, intentional pause. It's basically telling the reader, do not rush past this, do not let your mind wander. It effectively snaps you out of your scrolling trance by making the moment feel incredibly high stakes and meant specifically for you. So this brings us to the first big structural theme of the text, the divine interruption and capturing attention through urgency. The text is essentially telling you that stumbling upon this message wasn't just some random accident or a trick of the algorithm. Instead, it was an orchestration, an active intervention in your tiring day. But to prove that this interruption is authentic, the narrative has to build instant intimacy. And how does it do that? By listing out these incredibly specific, highly relatable symptoms of hidden wariness. It claims to see you smiling on the outside while battling storms, lying awake at night staring at the ceiling, burying deep questions, and holding everything together just to avoid falling apart. By vividly listing these private, universally human experiences, the text makes you feel so deeply seen and understood. It creates this powerful bond because it's finally voicing the struggles we usually hide from the world.
Which naturally flows right into our next phase, validating hidden pain and seeing those unseen struggles.
So once the text has your complete, undivided attention, it transitions from this loud, urgent wake-up call into providing intense emotional validation for those private battles we just talked about. This is where the text essentially wraps a warm blanket around you, acknowledging that your pain is real, it's heavy, and it is totally worthy of attention. Then it hits you with this powerful line: "You cannot heal what you keep hiding." Man, that is powerful. It directly challenges that modern instinct we all have to just push away our pain, slap on a brave face, and keep moving forward. Instead, the narrative actually encourages you to expose your emotional wounds. It creates a completely safe psychological space, signaling that it's finally okay to take off your armor. And then it sets up this brilliant Q&A dynamic. It asks the exact thing you're probably already wondering. Why does life feel so heavy lately? This is the overarching question for pretty much anyone going through a difficult season. By asking the question out loud, the text aligns itself perfectly with your own internal monologue. It's saying, hey, I know exactly what you're asking yourself right now.
And the answer it delivers? Because you are carrying burdens not meant for you. This is such a clever rhetorical move. It begins to shift the blame for your exhaustion totally away from your own perceived inadequacies. It tells you you aren't failing because you're weak. You are exhausted because you're holding misplaced weight. You've picked up responsibilities, guilt, and fears that were literally never yours to carry in the first place. The relief this provides is just instant.
This naturally leads into the third theme of our analysis, the illusion of strength, contrasting survival versus living.
Having completely validated your exhaustion, the text openly critiques our modern tendency to equate suffering and silence with actual strength. It systematically dismantles the idea that just pushing through is some sort of badge of honor, reframing it instead as a toxic habit that is slowly breaking you down. The text's core argument defines your current state not as strength, but as survival mode. It describes survival mode as the sheer exhaustion of pretending everything is fine while carrying the weight of the world alone. The narrative makes a really sharp distinction between true resilience and just barely keeping your head above water. It's telling you, I know you think you're being strong by not asking for help, but really, you're just surviving.
To drive this point home, the text draws this stark, striking contrast. On one side, we have what you're doing. You're functioning, surviving, holding on. But on the other side, we have what you're missing, living, resting, and healing. It perfectly highlights that massive gap between your exhausting daily reality and the deep, restorative peace you're actually desperate for. All right, moving into our fourth theme, redefining true resilience, and specifically reframing pain and tears. So the crucial point here is how the narrative rebuilds your self-esteem.
After stripping away the illusion of that suck-it-up mentality, it takes everything you might perceive as a failure, your breakdowns, the exhaustion, the silent crying, and redefines them as literal badges of honor. It points out that while you might see yourself as weak, fragile, or having failing faith, the divine perspective sees the exact opposite. It relabels you as a survivor, as resilient, and ultimately as a quiet warrior who has battled invisible storms. It takes your deepest insecurities about your mental state and transforms them into absolute proof of your incredible endurance.
It even reframes crying. The source says, "Your tears do not disappoint me. Your tears are language to me, speaking things your voice could not express." We so often stigmatize crying as a weakness, right? Like it's a breakdown in control. But here, the narrative reframes tears as a necessary, deeply communicative language that the divine inherently understands. It's saying your tears aren't a failure at all. They are a conversation. Which brings us to the final act of the narrative arc, the invitation to surrender and shifting the emotional burden. Now that the text has captured your attention, validated your deep, unseen pain, and redefined your exhaustion as heroic endurance, it offers its ultimate solution. It is time to shift that heavy emotional burden. And what exactly is it asking you to surrender? It provides a highly comprehensive list of emotional baggage. It asks you to let go of guilt for things you couldn't control, the crushing pressure of others' expectations, pain from unhealed wounds, memories that still sting, and the fear of trusting again. Notice how wildly universal this list is? It acts as a brilliant catch-all for almost anyone feeling overwhelmed by the complexities of life, making absolutely sure that every single reader finds their specific burden named here. And it gives you a very clear 3-step structural call to action to achieve this surrender. It's a sequential mechanism for peace. Step 1, acknowledge you've reached the end of your own emotional limits. Step 2, stop hiding and pretending that everything is fine. And finally, step 3, allow the divine to step in and carry that crushing weight for you. It's a complete transfer of responsibility, offering absolute relief to someone who is just so tired of being strong all by themselves. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought that honestly transcends the specific spiritual nature of the source text. These narrative mechanics work so well because they tap into a very real, very human exhaustion we literally all face. So, regardless of your personal beliefs, I'll leave you with this question. What heavy burdens are you carrying today that you were never meant to hold alone? Let that sink in. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this fascinating narrative structure today. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.